So what's on the agenda tonight then?
Well, we're going to talk Windows 10 Mobile new build.
Yep. I've got a couple of things I'm reviewing I want to chat about. Did you manage on the Quest from last week, Ian?
Yes.
Okay, so we can talk about that as well.
Yeah, Threshold 2 release date.
And why you're not buying a 950 XL?
Well,
maybe are.
Okay, we'll talk about that. So I think everything's going. So the live stream seems to be going. So, Gary, good evening.
Good evening.
Now, we've not got Jason with us tonight because it's his birthday and he's on a holiday.
Yeah, happy birthday. Well, it's his birthday by the time this comes out, won't it?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
Recording, but all very confusing. But happy birthday, Jace.
Yeah, and the reason he's away is he's just he's enjoying watching the Apple earnings call or whatever it is about the how well Apple are doing. But we've got a good guest to join us. It's Steve Payne. Chippy, welcome back to the show.
Good evening from a dodgy internet connection in Germany.
Yes, it sounded very clear tonight.
It's up and down all over the place, so who knows what's going to happen.
You are very clear at the moment, which is good. So
yeah,
that's good. Let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, so we can talk Windows 10 Mobile new builds. We've got Threshold 2 to talk about, 950 XL. Why I'm not, or am I getting a 950 XL? We talk a bit about now that the Surface Pro 4 and the Surface Book are in people's hands, not in Europe, but in the US. We can talk about those. And Steve, maybe you've got some thoughts on those, because I think last time we talked about what we'd like Surface Pro 4 to be.
Yeah.
Since then it's actually been announced, and I know you've been taking a close look at the chipset and things on that.
Yeah, reviewing the reviews as we do when we haven't got the devices.
Yeah, that's right. So so we've got quite a lot to talk about. So let's start with Windows 10 Mobile. So when we were recording last week, they announced a new build of Windows 10 Mobile, and which again had that bug, so you had to roll back. So I did roll back, and I've got that installed. I don't know, you guys, Steve, have you tried that?
You know what? I've rolled back completely now. I've got one device here. And the last time we had the podcast, I said, should I upgrade? I think after your feedback, I decided, okay, I'm going to give it one more beta build. And then I went for the upgrade, but I've had to go back to Windows 8, I'm afraid.
And is that because of reliability or something that, things aren't working right for you?
Speed and reliability. It's when a device becomes part of your workflow and you're used to a certain speed and a certain flow. For example, camera and photo app was just too slow for me to use, and the sharing subsystem was broken. I rolled back to Windows 8 at the time. I think it was 2 builds ago when you had to roll back to Windows 8 to get the best Windows 10 beta build, right?
Yeah, it was 2 build. Yeah.
So in theory, I could try again, but I just can't take the risk. And I think I've been a little bit burnt now. I know, and I think I wrote this on a tweet, I know it's my fault, and I know I should expect these issues, but I think I have a little bit less respect for Windows 10 Mobile now because of this prolonged beta period.
Yeah, I suppose I see what you mean. It's a bit of an issue that if they go down that route and you kind of get to see under the kimono, as I say, and you get to see everything that's going on. But on the other hand, if they just kept quiet and just announced and released a build next week, it has the opposite. It puts people off.
When we said this when they first announced this program, didn't we? Because we were saying that it's going to be so much different from the existing developer preview program, which was out there for Windows 8 phone, in that they weren't going to be releasing releases which were polished, because basically everything was got out on that. Those earlier programs was polished, and obviously with 10, it's really under the hood, and has been very early stuff, and it's interesting the way Microsoft seem to work, that they get all the polish in the very last minute, rather than sort of putting it to actually fixing things as they go along. So they tend to be really feature led and pushing lots of features out, and then at the very last minute they pull it all together and try and polish it up. And they seem to succeed with Windows 10. So I'm hoping they're going to do the same with Windows 10 Mobile. I mean, I have to say the photo app's got a lot better. I have been trying this very latest build, and I actually like it better than the previous build. And certainly the photo app seems a lot faster in terms of loading up. But there's still a few glitches I couldn't live with on a day-to-day basis. Particularly around the whole maps and the driving experience. I know the other people's mileage teams still seem to vary on that.
Yeah, I know I should invest in a second device if I'm writing about technology. I'm not a smartphone blogger, so this is one reason why I haven't got a bunch of phones here. I even thought about, and this is an interesting one, I even thought about going out and get myself an Android phone for the duration, not another Windows phone, an Android phone. I wonder if anyone, other people have done that. I thought, oh, this is, I'm going to hang in there with my only phone, but I'll spend $100 on an Android phone. And meanwhile, they're like, oh, maybe this is quite nice, It's a risky thing to do by Microsoft, and it is going on longer than Windows 10 desktop did. And it's at this stage still not, you can't go all in on it. At this stage in the Windows 10 betas, you could go all in, and I was working very early on with Windows 10 desktop without too many issues.
Yeah, although I think we've had this conversation on the show before, but Windows 10 desktop was good at the start, then went downhill as they've introduced new features, and then went back up again. Because when those first initial builds of Windows 10 worked just perfectly, and you could have easily used that in production, and then there was that dip off where things started to go wrong as they added new features and changed things, and then they got it back up and running again.
And even the Threshold 2, which we'll come back to, the autumn update, fall update, as it's going to be called, even that's been sort of the up and down process. But yeah, I found I'm using this a 630, so that was like a 60 quid phone that I got to do the testing on, and I would say for the last 2 or 3 builds, I have increasingly tempted to put it on my 1520, my main phone. The only thing that really holds me back is that the upgrade process is, I use the word fragile on last week's show, I think. And in fact, it's, we've had to roll back twice now for 2 builds, and even the builds that didn't roll back, I found the upgrade not brilliant. And the ultimate, the very best experience, and maybe this is the problem that you had, is I've got the 640 running, 635 running here, sorry. And if you do a clean install of Windows Phone 8.1, do the upgrade, and then do a reset, which puts you back to a clean setup of Windows 10 mobile, it performs brilliantly, much better than have just doing the upgrade. So maybe that's the issue, and because it's your daily driver, you can't keep resetting.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Just as I roll back to Windows 8, the best build or the better build started coming out. So maybe I'll give it another go again. But like you said, it's a fragile process sometimes, and it's always with risk and a lengthy process as well. So
it's the having to do the complete reset after the upgrade's finished. I think that's the thing. And I've got like many of us have, my Authenticator app is on the 1520. So if I was to keep reset that, I'd have to reset my Authenticator up, and that's a bit of a pain.
That's quite a lot. Yeah, actually, that was one of the awkward things I had to reset up. There was actually a load of stuff that I thought, maybe I shouldn't have rolled back to Windows 8. Maybe I should have waited. But yeah, I think I'm gonna just take my advice from you guys, and like last time, really screw it up again.
Go ahead, Gary.
I was going to say, I think one of the reasons they're delaying this next build, which they've sort of said, Gary Balls, you said that it's going to be sort of 2 days, 3 days before they release it, is because they want to make sure that upgrade process is working this time.
Yeah.
So I think that's there, and will be better, but it's something they've got to get right. And it's so difficult to do. I mean, it actually really, when you're upgrading to dissimilar products, I mean, I'm a developer, and I've sort of done a lot of this stuff in the past, but that's really incredibly difficult to do that sort of stuff and get it right across the board when you've got so many different potential setups out there.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, and I think it's just the philosophy behind Windows 10 and Windows 8 are so different.
Yeah,
Windows Phone 8, that that's why the reset is you need to do, because it puts things in a logical place, and the backgrounds look right, and everything looks right on it. As opposed to when you do an upgrade, it looks like a bit of a leftover from 8.1. It's so funny that that a few years ago that was the only way you'd consider doing a Windows desktop build, is by doing a clean install when the new version came out. But then with Windows 10, I'm looking at my Surface Pro 3 here, it's done the upgrade and performing perfectly. So yeah, it's just funny how these things change around.
But I think also with phones, you can't expect someone to do a clean install. It just won't. I mean, that would just do their reputation terrible harm. When Android and Apple almost always get it right. Apple haven't always got it right recently, but certainly it's a lot less difficult to upgrade on most of those things. Although things do change, and I can hear complaints about things changing.
Yeah. But interesting. I think we're getting close to the release now, so we do have a rough idea of when it's going to be done, because the 950 and the 950 XL are now actually on sale in the UK. I don't know what the US release date is, but in the UK it says you can pre-order now and they'll be on sale December 3rd, delivered December 3rd.
So we've been following your tweets of interest the last few days, Ian, because you did tweet out that before they actually announced the fact it was going on sale, you said they've left it long enough now that you've changed your mind on ordering one. Have you changed it back?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. That I did. So, yeah, if they'd been available to pre-order on day one, I would have done. But in the meantime, I've had these doubts that, I'm going to spend that much on a phone. Maybe I should look at going back to the Nexus, because I did like my Nexus 5. I had a Nexus 4 and a Nexus 5. But then I thought, well, no, I really like that. Want to stay on Windows. Windows and everything else and all that brings, and it's excellent hardware. But I thought, no, but I can run Android apps on the Nexus 5, and it is a dilemma. And I think for any normal user, there isn't a dilemma. You would just go with Android because of the app availability. But for what we enthusiasts are and like to do, then I think the 950 had it for me. But anyway, I had no choice because neither was available. I was looking at the Nexus 6P because I like a larger phone, and that's on back order. You can't order that on through the Google Play Store, and you couldn't order the 950. So I was like, oh well, I'll just wait till see which one comes first, and then I'll make the decision. Anyway, now the 950 is available, I've gone for that because I figure I can return it anyway if I really don't like it. The Microsoft Store has a 14-day return policy, but it's the hardware I think that swung it for me really. For this, the Nexus 6P doesn't have wireless charging, and there's quite a few. It's not got the same camera. There's no SD card support. It's not got fast charge. So there's quite a lot on it really that don't match up. Whereas the 950 XL is just
and no Continuum, of course.
No Continuum, yeah. Although as much as I like Continuum, I think it's probably less.
Yeah, for you, we had this discussion before.
With all the devices.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've gone for it anyway. I've reserved a 950 XL in white. Having said all that during the week, but that just shows you if you do actually make them available, people will order them.
you bring them, they will come. Make it. So, actually, while we're on the subject of Windows Mobile, we had this question last week, didn't we, on the show from Jake about Bluetooth. And did you have a chance to try that out?
Yeah. So, just a recap. Steve, you might have tried this as well. Although you're not use phone that much, but or blog about phones that much. But we've got a lot of questions about Bluetooth and the way that the profiles work, especially around navigation, and the way that the phone sort of cuts in and out when it does voice talk commands because it's changing Bluetooth profiles. So I used my 630 here, put it in the car, and paired it up to my Bluetooth audio and my Bluetooth car system, which are two separate devices. So one's for the music and one does the voice call, handles the phone calls. So anyway, so I connected it up and I did had some music playing, and which was coming through fine. And then I did turn-by-turn navigation, and the turn-by-turn navigation stopped the music playing, did the navigation tool through the audio that the music comes through, and then carried on with the music again.
So it sounds like it's using the music profile rather than the hands-free profile this time, which will probably make Jake very happy. Although it makes some people of users of older Bluetooth-enabled systems maybe not so happy. But
and I had to poke around for the settings, and I couldn't really see anything particular to control over it. There didn't seem to be any voice options or Bluetooth profiles or whatever. But in the Bluetooth stack, when you go to the Bluetooth screen, you can see the two profiles. It's got I think one's called voice and one's called audio.
Yeah.
And it uses the audio one for all of it. And then I guess if you get a phone call, then it uses I tried that as well. Sorry. I tried receiving a call while this was happening, and there's no SIM in this, so I did it via Skype, and that used the in-car audio for voice communication profile.
Okay, so that's quite good. So one of the things I've had someone, well, I mentioned this to someone in the week, and they were saying, of course, on the iPhone and I think also on Android, when you're playing music on Bluetooth, you get the option to switch it off Bluetooth and switch it back to the speakers, because there's actually control on the volume, on the playback control. Do we have that now on Windows 10 Mobile?
There are two separate volume controls. Oh, I didn't get the option, but I did try. I turned the Bluetooth music audio off the device, so the music was coming through the speaker on the phone, and that continued doing the navigation through the speaker on the phone.
Okay, so it might be possible to do something like that.
Yeah, but I just can't see any settings for audio settings in
it's weird, isn't it? And Microsoft are so good at a lot of things, but Bluetooth seems to be something they've really had problems with over the years. I mean, Windows, go back to the Pocket PC days, that was awful on Bluetooth compared to when Android came out and started doing it right. So I think there's a lot of things that they can learn from other people.
Yeah. So it does help Jake out, I guess, in this case. But
yeah, that's exactly what he wants. But obviously, for some other people, it may not be what they want if they've only got the switcher. But yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Now talking to Windows Phone. Any guesses then? When do you think we'll get the final version ready for the devices to be upgraded, and as opposed to the ones that, the December 3rd for the 950?
So it's not December 3rd, 950 is coming out on December 3rd. I think we'll get on December 3rd.
On all Lumias?
No. Probably finished for the 950. zero day update.
Yeah, so we'll get the 950 on that day, and then, well, I guess it's got to go through carrier testing, doesn't it? And all that.
Well, yeah, possibly. Although if they're launching the devices, they'll be carrier tested already. Yeah. So,
but I'm just thinking further. So are we going to? Is my 1520 going to see is going to see that update on the 3rd of December or whatever they choose to release?
Well, if you're on the preview program, yeah.
Yeah. So preview users will get it first.
Yeah, and then others will get it afterwards. I think that would be my guess anyway. No real information, but that was certainly my guess.
So do you think, Steve, you're gonna wait for then? Are you gonna jump earlier than the insider program?
I'm gonna go back in soon, but I'm gonna read some more of your blogs before I do that. It's a shame, really. I mean, there's I don't want to keep moaning, but that Bluetooth thing was also an issue. Bluetooth on Windows 8.1 works in my car absolutely smoothly, and actually the best experience I've ever had on Bluetooth, which is since Pocket PC days. It's a Mazda. The previous Mazda we had didn't work very well, but this one just works perfectly. With audio cutting in at the right time, with the right profile, headset profile being used at the right time, SMS is being read, microphones on the phone being used, everything.
Yeah, and that's why they did that profile, because it works with certain cars. I was told it worked with the guy who actually was in charge of that bit of the programming's car. Perfectly. So that's why they went that way. But it didn't work with the old profiles. It doesn't work because it doesn't switch in and out. But the problem is that if you actually look at the majority of vehicles, it doesn't cut over quickly enough, so you miss part of the navigation. Right. So I gave the example last week. I was approaching a roundabout, and all I got was second. I didn't get the rest of whatever I was supposed to do at the second. So it's that changeover period. And because a lot of devices take a while to actually cut in when they get a switch to profiles. But some vehicles it works perfectly on. And so I do think there need to be options here. I think the lack of control over this is a problem, and it has always been a problem with Microsoft stuff. The Bluetooth stacks don't tend to have a lot of control on them.
Well, we'll find out when we'll see what the 950 is like.
Indeed.
Now, so that's going to be running Threshold 2, and there seem to, although we've not got confirmation yet from Microsoft, there seem to be a lot of rumors with the 2nd of November for the Threshold 2 version of the desktop OS. I
wouldn't be surprised. It kind of makes some sense that sort of time period is about right, because they want to get that out there with show a few new features ready for the big sales push in America for PCs for Black Friday and Christmas and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Steve, have you been trying the Insider Preview builds on your devices?
Yeah, I've actually got it automatically on my Surface Pro 3, and that's the device I use every day. The only one thing one thing I'm looking out for is OneDrive placeholders. I'll be happy when that comes back, to be honest.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's the
I can't see
only
that.
thing-
I can't see that being in this race.
Oh, please. I'm
No.
so missing it. It's really messed up my workflow.
I think it's really. I mean, if you're looking at small factor devices, I mean, it makes it virtually impossible to use OneDrive. So it's
It does. Yeah,
yeah,
it's bizarre. It's bizarre because some of these, what was it? The Acer CloudBook.
Yeah.
It's got Windows 10 on it and so little storage on it that you can't use OneDrive, which is the cloud. So the cloud can't use the cloud.
Although one thing which I did notice, and I hadn't picked up on this on the last but one build, have you looked at Storage Sense recently on the settings?
No.
Because it appears that we can now store apps on a external SD
Yes, you
card.
can. That was in the last update. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd missed that completely. So, and that does work really well, and that's definitely helped me a lot in terms of because obviously the app storage goes across to that SD card as well. So things like mail, if you can move them across, will start storing on the SD card.
Yeah, that's good. That's going to be really helpful. Although you've got to make sure you get a decent speed SD card, of course.
Oh yeah, and there's a few of those out there.
I've found with when I'm doing OneDrive now though, it's how I have a number of different folders, and got some that I share like with Gary for stuff we're working on, but then I've got a couple of folders I use for sharing only things that I want on very small devices. So
Yeah.
So it's on my Link 7, and it's on everything. It's to just put tiny things in there for transit sort of use, or things I need occasionally that I always want on my Link 7. And then I've got another folder that's got big documents that I'm working on that I don't bother with on Link 7. So I've had to sort of change the way I work, but it's working okay for me.
Yeah, I've done exactly the same. Basically, don't sync that camera roll folder.
Yeah, but it is
Yes.
but you're quite right. It does mess your workflow up. I mean, there was the other day I was looking for. I knew I had a photo of something, and I wanted to plug it into the magazine I was working on, and I had Link 7, Link 8, so and I just couldn't find it because it wasn't synced, because I didn't. So normally I would have had placeholders and picked it up, and they got to do something about that. I mean, I think we're probably starting to move in the right direction now, because we have got the OneDrive for Business stuff. We're using the same sync engine, and they did promise that they'd come up with some idea. I'm not quite sure what that will be, but I can't see it being threshold. It's too late. It's too late now. If they're pushing threshold out in the next couple of weeks, it's going to be very difficult to get any new features in. I guess that's got to be feature complete, and they'll be moving on to the next.
Yeah, which is Redstone.
Redstone, yeah. So I could see placeholders being in Redstone. Definitely, that would be a good idea. Although I haven't said that, OneDrive. Well, it's not. It's part of the operating system now, isn't it? But it's almost an app, so you could possibly update it depending.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think there should be a nice little through a modern app though, way of viewing all your stuff, and then you can pull it down if you want. So not exactly placeholder, but just have a view of all your content that will then pull that one file down if you need it. So the threshold to November 2nd. So the other thing that seems to be, again, not official, but the various rumors seem to point towards, is that it's going to be released as an cumulative update and not a build, as we've been testing so far.
Yes. Yeah, so that's going to be interesting. So I wonder if they're going to try and get us to test that as well somehow, roll us back on the inside of the program and do an update or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. No one's ever tested, externally. Internally, I'm sure they've been, but externally, no one's tested that Threshold 2 install process. We've all been doing it. We've all been doing it through these new builds. But so, do you think, Gary, if you use this new build, okay?
Yeah,
these new builds, I should say.
Well, I've obviously been using I'm using it now to talk to you, so I've been using it all the time. It's nice. The Skype video client drives me a bit crazy because of the minimizing and muting functionality in it, which is a bit stupid. It's like so I have to have that sitting in the background, otherwise I lose this conversation. But other than that, it's been really stable. Actually, I have to say, it's this particular build has been really good. It's even solved the Now TV app problem, which has been with me for about the last 6 builds. Reinstalled Now TV and it actually works, so that's kind of cool. And I haven't had the issues I've had for years where the apps are just closed I don't think I've had an app just close on me for a couple of weeks now.
Question, Richard in the chat room, does the new build include media center? Very good, Richard.
No.
Please don't start that one off.
Definitely no.
Yeah. But it just, like you said, it includes a new messaging app, the apps, and the fork. I think that certainly for a small tablet like this, Link 7 or Encore 8, having the extra row tiles is so much better.
Yeah, the small factors devices, it really was, which again brings us back to the whole OneDrive thing. But yeah, definitely better. But having also that storage sense change is going to be huge. A lot of people.
Yes, really, true. That's in there as well.
You're calling out for that, so that'll be on the Threshold build, and I think that's going to make a lot of people, particularly on the Links forums, very happy. Yeah,
you can stick yourself a nice big SD card. So Steve, you mentioned about the sort of SD card space. Speed. Is there any specific type you found that worked best with Windows in general?
You know what? I steer clear of that, and I've even been steering clear of anything with eMMC drives recently because I'm getting a bit annoyed. Well, I guess my problem is I'm getting maybe 4 devices in a week now because I'm doing videos for notebookcheck.net, and I'm getting really, really annoyed at the speed of the eMMC drives on small devices. So even those which are faster than microSD drives, it's those 4K write speeds which are the ones that really, really kill it. And if you've got indexing going on in the background, Defender scanning everything, it can take over a day to get a device settled such that you can actually start using it properly.
Right.
So I'm really not happy with cheap drives right now. So which is why I was really pleased to see the Acer Aspire Switch 11V, which I had this week, had a proper SATA connected SSD in it with a really nice fast speed. And
yeah, that's a nice device.
Yeah.
for that. A few issues, but that SSD is lovely. And I totally agree. I think that the whole eMMC stuff is, I mean, they're basically old flash drives, aren't they? They're not.
Yeah, I tested the Galaxy S2, and the eMMC was faster because I think it's V5 eMMC stand rather than the crappy 4.5 on being used on Atom. And that 4.5 version has been knocking around for I don't know how many years now, 5-6 years.
Yeah,
it needs to be upgraded.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing is as I mentioned this to a couple of people recently, if you actually move your caches over to the SSD to a micro SD card, it's faster than the built-in drive.
Right, there you go. Okay. So I think there's a couple of sites out there that do really good testing of micro SDs. I think there's one even has a database, don't they, of speed testing. And I know that we've started at Notebook Check to do testing of the interfaces, microSD or the SD card interfaces with, I think we're using a high-speed Samsung card right now, full-size Samsung card.
Because that actually makes a huge difference, the interface speed. I mean, a lot of people don't realize just how they vary from device to device. Absolutely.
You can even still get USB 2 connected SD interfaces. The better ones, I think, are PCIe connected. But there's a huge difference on them.
Yeah, no, so it's surprisingly. So you can have a really good high-speed micro SD card and be completely throttled by the interface.
Yeah, that's right.
I wonder. You just got me thinking there. I wonder if Gable mentioned about getting a new build of mobile, and in previous posts, comments on Twitter, he mentioned there's a new desktop build on the way. He's not mentioned that today, so I wonder if the next build we'll get will be an upgrade.
Could be, yeah. That'd be a good test.
But you'd have to be on 10.240, wouldn't you, to really test it?
Yeah. Maybe they're going to roll. Maybe they're going to roll us back. Wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, that'll not so good for people who've gone all in on the on the insider builds on production machines.
Yeah.
Anyway, so maybe by the time we record next week, we'll have the final version of Threshold 2 as they move on to the next version, which is due out next spring, isn't it? Which is the codename Redstone.
Yep.
And I think what we do know is that it's gonna have the Edge extensions in it, and that won't be included in the Threshold 2 build.
Yeah. Well, I'll be hopefully dialing in from Redmond next week, so I might have some insider news.
Insider from the insider news.
Yes.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people are saying that really the lack of extensions is stopping them using Edge, but to be honest, I don't use extensions. I have used them in Chrome, but I sort of seem to manage to get by without them. Steve, are you a big user of those?
I'm not a big user, but I have two very important extensions on Chrome. I have Privacy Badger, I have HTTPS Everywhere, and occasionally I have a plugin for proxy as well, and I use that for testing. So that's a problem for me on Edge. I use Edge, actually, funnily enough, I use Edge a lot to get to OneDrive because of the auto login, and I would really like to see some extensions on Chrome. I'm a big fan of killing tracking cookies. Doesn't mean to kill. I want to kill ads. It means I want to kill tracking cookies, and I'd like to see that on Edge.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, the fundamental thing I'd like to see on Edge is it closing properly. It drives me crazy. I end up with Edge locked up, and I have to kill it through the task manager, and it's still happening in this build. Sort of fundamental things, really.
Yeah, that's I've mentioned on previous shows about that on my my laptop at work. The whenever you lock your machine, it crashes Edge.
Yeah,
I have no idea why, but it's working fine on other devices. And of course, the bug I really don't like in this, and I hope this is a bug and not a feature, that when you on the new builds, when you click Start on Edge, it launches a new instance of Edge, and rather than just bringing up Edge. I know Jason thinks it's correct that way, but it just really bugs me because I use that method on these small tablets all the time, and I hope that is a bug and not deliberate action. We'll find out the next build.
Yeah, I could argue in Jason's way on that one as well, but I guess you should be using the task switcher to get back.
I should. That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. But as with a lot of these things, and I know this drives some of my fellow MVPs crazy when I say this, but I think there should be more options. People do things differently, and I think there's always been the one thing that Microsoft always used to give people was options. You could do things in about 10 different ways, but if you wanted to do it in those 10 different ways, that was good. And certainly recently they've tended to be more, no, we're not going to give you options anymore, we're going to take them away from you and try and drive you down one way of doing things, and I think that can be a problem. And
Richard's saying that Edge works fine for him. In fact, the release of Windows 10 experience is better for me, and elderly relations are also happy with it. I mean, overall, I'm really happy. I switched from, I don't use Chrome anymore.
Yeah, my dad loves Edge. He thinks it's one of the best browsers he's ever used because it's so simple to use. Doesn't cause him any problems, but I just find that that's a real difficulty for me. Is I keep getting locked up, and because of some of the stuff I'm running on Edge, I actually got locked up with a video player, and I couldn't close the video at all. I couldn't stop it or anything. It was a continuous playing on repeat.
Good job you're not watching those dodgy films.
yeah, indeed. So I think that could be an issue. So I had Joe Belfiore on repeat, which is all right. I like Joe, but having him on repeat was a bit of a problem.
Could have been worse. You could have had one of my on there.
Yeah, well, that could have been worse.
If you want to know what Richard thinks of OneDrive, then have a look in the chat room. You can go back. You can go back. I won't delete it, so you can go back for this on the podcast.
Yeah,
I tried to upload all my photos to OneDrive last week. What a nightmare! It's not fast, right? Especially if you haven't got any local drive available to create a OneDrive folder.
Yeah, doing it on the website is a nightmare.
Yeah, I think I just did mine through a folder, and I uploaded all my music, and it didn't take that long.
The funny thing is, it's actually quicker to upload photographs from the phone than it is to do it from a desktop PC using the web browser, which is crazy.
Bizarre.
But sorry, go ahead.
So when you created the folder and transferred all your music to it, and it took a while to synchronize, did you then switch that to offline mode only? Or have you got that cache now?
The music folder is both now. So whenever I add any music to that folder, it automatically synchronizes up, and vice versa, it synchronizes back down again. But that's just on the one device.
Oh, okay. So you actually used that folder to synchronize up to OneDrive. You didn't create a second folder and then just copy all your all your music over into
No,
that folder.
I've
Oh,
actually
okay.
moved all my music into that folder, so that's where it all lives now
Oh, right.
on
Oh,
that
okay.
on that one PC, and then no other PCs have got the music folder synced, just the one. But of course, then I access that OneDrive music folder through my devices. But if that one PC goes now, then I had to set a new one up or whatever, I just resynchronize that music folder on that one
Interesting.
machine, because that machine's also got iTunes on there and Google Play music folder and everything. All my music is on this one PC. It was my main media server effectively at one stage, but now it's just used for that sort of music.
That's an interesting one, because mine's all on my NAS, but I want to move away from that now. And but I need, because that's I can't actually. Wow, yeah, because I'm going to have to create a folder in OneDrive and transfer it all over, which means I need 120 gigs on a PC somewhere free to take that amount of music before it will synchronize.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's what I've got on. I've got,
Right.
and that's got. So I've got Sonos, and that used to be the folder. It still is, but the folder that I connected up to Sonos and everything.
Right.
Although, because Sonos now works with Groove, but you still, that was my main local machine. So if I rip a CD for whatever reason, it's on that machine, and it automatically saves it in the OneDrive folder.
Right. Yep.
Yes. So Richard's asked a question: recommendation for getting offline backups of OneDrive when one has devices with small hard disk. Well, you could only pull down the folders that are big enough space. So if you wanted to have an entire backup of your OneDrive, then you need a very large drive, or you'd have to split it across multiple devices. I can't think of any other way of doing it.
You could do it to a larger SD card.
Yeah.
You can put OneDrive onto an SD card now. Well, you used to with 8, and maybe not with early versions of 10, but I believe you can now, right?
Yeah, I think the only issue will be you've got to, whatever you pull down has got to be more space available than OneDrive, your OneDrive sizes. So if you've got 100 gig in OneDrive, you've got to have 105 gig or 110 gig or whatever disk to do an entire backup.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
But of course, you could split it and just say if your music was 30 gig, you could back up that on one device and so on. But there isn't an offline backup OneDrive facility. I guess they just think you just store it through the cloud. There's no need.
Is there anything you could do with file history by mapping file history to a OneDrive, and then hanging a drive off a PC, and then using that as an archive?
You could use a NAS drive or something like that.
You could do.
Yeah.
There must be a way to do it. It's Windows. There are hundreds of ways to do everything.
Got an old home server lying about somewhere?
Yes, and put the Windows whatever. Which Home Drive did work on. Sorry, OneDrive.
OneDrive works on the older version of it. You can still get that, but it definitely did work.
Yeah. So that's your solution: is you either have a bigger drive or you split the syncing of the folders onto multiple devices.
Yeah.
He says, yes, I've used an external hard drive, so hopefully something more elegant. Take your hard drive with a USB thing to Microsoft Data Center and ask if you can plug it in and copy it over. So there we go. So I'm just trying to think. Redstone, Edge extensions, and we don't know what else is likely to be in there. Maybe placeholders for OneDrive.
Yeah. I think that's going to be Redstone somewhere along the line. There's going to be a lot of stuff in Redstone, I think, from what I'm hearing, but and probably some stuff we don't know about yet.
Yeah. Oh, one nice feature that I didn't talk about in the new phone build last week is if you've got a new desktop build, you can use text. You can ask Cortana to send text from your PC, and it sends it via the phone. And if you've got a missed call, you get a notification on your PC as well.
Yeah, so you can only do that through Cortana.
Yes, you can just go into Cortana, you type text.
Yeah,
and it sees it almost like an app, but then it's not an app. It gives a little wizard thing in Cortana.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't put that in the messaging app. That was the only thing I would say about that. I mean, it does sound a really good idea to be able to do it, but nice to.
Yeah. Maybe you can. Maybe you will be able to. But yeah, it's quite nice to have that option in there. It'd be nice if you could phone, you get your phone calls and everything routed through. But anyway, that's a nice little touch, and that's I suppose one of the very few things that makes sense then to have a Windows 10 mobile device. It's one of the few benefits of having everything in one system if they get that working together quite nicely. It would be nice if they could do 3G to data calling somehow, wouldn't it? They can pass through. And I know that the Mac has a similar sort of, I think, called handoff.
Handoff, yeah. And
I've not tried it.
Handoff works quite well if you got something that supports it properly. But the SHS sounds potentially better integrated, but we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of Windows 10 as well, we've got a date for the Xbox to get to Windows 10 on it. So this is the new Xbox dashboard that's on its way. November 12th, we should be getting that. And even aside from the gaming for sort of our in the media side of things, the entertainment app side of things, there are a few changes, and especially around OneGuide. I don't know if you've seen any of the changes on this.
As I still haven't got an Xbox One, I probably haven't.
Steve, are you an Xbox user?
360. Sorry.
So you're not included in this. No. No, you won't get 3. Although you will be able to run your 360 games on the Xbox One if you ever go that route, because the part of the changes in this November 12th include the a preview, I think it is, of the Xbox backwards compatibility. Certainly, there's a limited set of games initially, but they're adding those on it. So, one thing I did find out was I've got it because through the preview program. I know we talked about this before. It's quite funny when you got the preview program, you get a little watermark and everything. It's just like the desktop. But when you go to the one guide, which is the TV guide, it's now full screen, but it also shows you information like if TV series from Netflix or other third-party apps you've got in there. So they've got deep integration with Netflix. I mean, that's the only example I could say because that's what I've got installed. But so alongside broadcast TV, I also saw it advertising a Netflix series, and then when you go onto that, it then opens Netflix and then launches that program, that TV program page. So there's so it's still there's still the integration is quite nice on there. I mean, it's not brilliant. There's a lot of advertising in it because it's trying to sell you content from the store, the TV store or the video store. But anyway, it looks quite nice. So that's coming November 12th, and effectively it is running Windows 10. So that adds a few more. I don't know how many Xboxes are sold, but a couple more million to the Xbox 10 total.
Yeah, maybe someone will start writing apps for the Xbox with Windows 10 now.
Yes, good question. Yeah.
That's going to come soon. Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, it's interesting. I've had this. I've mentioned this before. I've had conversations with developers, and I had almost exactly the same conversation I had a couple of months back. I was talking to an Android development house, and they were saying how it's relatively easy with the bridging to put it onto Windows 10. Well, they said no, it doesn't matter how easy they make it. We're not going to do it. We hate Microsoft, and that's an issue, I think.
Yeah, it is a big issue, that, because that's one thing that's been the bridges that they talked about at Build. With just no evidence of anything yet.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I think the only way you're going to get Android apps onto the Microsoft platform is if Microsoft do the porting themselves, and that leads to so much legal issues unless they obviously make the decision. But the problem is that most of the people who write Android apps because they don't like Microsoft that much, or particularly the iOS people really don't like Microsoft, and that's a problem. I'm not saying not tarring everybody with that because I obviously write Android and iOS apps as well, but there is definitely a problem out there with that, and they don't want to write for that platform, even if it's made easy for them. So I don't know. I mean, a lot of my fellow Windows developers will hate me for saying it, but I think they should just make Android apps run on the platform without any bridging. or at least put the bridging in automatically, so you can just download it from the Play Store and run it, or download the APK and put it on it and it runs.
I think that would be a good move, even if it's just for enthusiasts like me who've we like played about with stuff. Yeah, just make it so it can run APKs on there, and we can find our own way. And I know it's not the best way, but give us the option.
Yeah,
make it unofficial, but
or just release the bridge so people can port anything they like.
There may come a point, and it will be next year earliest, where there are clear business cases for doing it, and that means, okay, Microsoft can report, okay, we've got 300 million devices running Windows 10, which makes you think about, as a developer, there may be some opportunity there. But there needs to be stories from developers out there and from software houses that have had success. That's going to be the point. At the point where someone says, we've made a shitload of money from Windows 10 on our own feet, then people might turn around and say, okay, hold on, because we're talking about software houses here. We're not talking about just independent developers. Those software houses will then go, wait a minute, we can make some money here. It's now time to take a look at it. But it needs those developer stories to be told, success stories.
Yeah, the only problem is that a lot of the apps which are missing and the ones people really cry out for are not ones which pay money. So there's no actual earning potential there. There might be a potential in terms of you get more people on your service. So I'm thinking about banking apps and the things like that. And those are the sort of things people really cry out for that they're missing. So there's no incentive for developers to actually develop for Windows 10 on those because they're not going to make extra money on it. There's only real incentive if the numbers get so high that you have to do that. If there's so many people out there saying, well, I'm on Windows 10, why aren't you supporting me? That becomes the pressure to do it.
But that's probably a long way away.
Yeah, and it's very difficult.
Is that 3-year time frame, isn't it? The billion devices.
But we've had this conversation before. Again, the fact if Microsoft can push into the businesses and get businesses adopting it, you get a real knock on there, and then you do start to get the demand for apps because so many people have got business phones they want to use. So,
I think the other thing is as well, the step in the right direction is things like the Surface Profile and the Surface Book. The fact that they're very high-end devices that very relatively few people are ever going to purchase, but the mindset and that there's a quality Windows device out there, and these are selling well, and that may be to help push developers in the right direction.
Yeah,
I want an Xbox Mini. Why can't they do an Xbox Mini that's like $120 or something that gives me all of my Microsoft front end without the gaming?
Yeah, something we.
I want Groove Music. I want my photos. I want OneDrive. I want to be able to start apps on the television from my Windows 10 smartphone. I want to do all those things that are in Windows 10, but I don't want an Xbox One because I don't play games.
Isn't that called a 950 XL?
Well, it could be, but Miracast isn't that good.
Well, no, because you use the dock. That's what I was thinking. You got the extra money.
Yeah, you could, but that's not a very practical solution. To be honest,
I think also the problem is price on that as well. You want something a lot cheaper. So I do get the point. There was definitely a cry for an Xbox Media device, which doesn't do gaming, and I think they may know that.
Either that or go properly down the app route like they've done with Groove, but actually get Groove on Roku, get the movies and TV on Roku, get OneDrive on Roku, get it on Amazon and everything.
That would work for me. Put it on Fire TV and I'd be happy actually.
Yeah, and they're not far off being able to do that on Fire TV because they need to change the IPOs slightly. Talk about boxes for home media. I said I'm reviewing a couple of things at the moment, and one of the things which I mentioned off air last week to Jason and Ian was I got this strange package delivery. So someone from El Al Airlines turned up on my doorstep with a package, and it was from a very Israeli company called VBox Comms, and it's the VBox Home Gateway device, which they're shipping to the UK, which is basically a network tuner. Very much in the lines of the Silicon Dust type stuff we've looked at in the past, but rather good. I think it's got one connection on it, cable. So this is DVB-T in here, Ariel, but you also do DVB-C, and they have a DVB-S one as well. The DVB-T one is DVB-T2 as well, times 2. But what's really interesting about this, it's got the ability to take a USB card as a USB stick, and you can record to it as well. Right. And it has a web interface which works fairly well, which with Program Guide off the DVB-T signal, which seems to populate really quickly. And you can schedule recordings on that, and it will record a USB stick or to a NAS box if you happen to have one, which you can connect to, or even to a PC over the network. But the really nice thing about it is it converts everything over to DLNA. So all your TV channels appear on as DLNA channels.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a bit like with Silicon Dust. You can do that.
Yeah, Silicon Dust doing it to some extent, but this really does it quite well, which means there's a lot of clients out there can use it, and things like my Samsung Smart TV can actually talk to it and actually play directly from it without having to worry about physically connecting up. I've got to get to the bottom of this. It may be a problem with my home network, although I doubt it because I'm pretty well gigabit throughout. But I'm getting some stuttering on the DVB-T2 stuff on the HD channels. But the DVB-T stuff is brilliantly, really clear, really quick, crisp, and the quality seems very, very good in terms of tuning. Some of the channels I get quite weakly here are coming through very, very clearly and not breaking up as much as they do on any other tuner I've used it on, including the Silicon Dust one. I've got the HC Hammer I've got. So I think it's a really good box at the moment. And from what they're saying, the pricing is going to be, I think it's going to be quite attractive.
Now, I know that. I know the answer, but I'll ask the question because I'm sure someone asks: is can you use it with Media Center?
Good question. You can't directly, no. There isn't a plugin at the moment. But because it's DLNA, and also it does streaming as well. So it actually has an ability of doing streaming, effectively IPTV. You could use it with something like DVB Logic to actually plug it in and work that way. And that would work. So there are ways of getting it in, but it's at the moment it does. I mean, it has got quite a few clients, and they're talking about a lot more as well. So,
but of course, I mean, this would be ideal if you're looking to replace Media Center because you can use it at DLNA or the browser.
Yeah, and you've got the recording ability on there, which is nice. And they have got the ability to do it remotely as well, so you can access it outside your home as well. So it seems there's a lot of really quite good things there. It works brilliantly with form factor handhelds as well. I love watching stuff on the Lynx 8 on it. It really works.
Yeah, it's a nice little system that. So I'll look forward to seeing the review on that.
Yeah, fascinating tech. Probably not this issue, but the next one I'll be reviewing it. But I mean, if you actually look at the pricing, it could be sub 150 quid for this thing. So and it's not bad for what it does.
Yeah, we'll have a look out for that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you see that Plex have announced a new media player for Windows?
Yes, you mentioned that. That seems quite a good idea.
Yeah. So this is a replacement for the home theater program, which
was okay, but never particularly brilliant.
Yeah. But it's a dedicated program for it. Runs on Windows, Mac, and the Raspberry Pi. And there's a build for Linux. You can have as an embedded build as well. But it looks like the Xbox One. It looks like the Plex app for Windows 10.
Yes, yeah, it does. Very, very like the Plex app for Windows 10, which is good.
Yeah, which is a good thing, and it's a nice system actually. So you could get a fairly basic device and turn it into a dedicated media player and connect that to your TV. So maybe Steve, that's one way of looking at it. Maybe if you've got your stuff on a server and you've got your own content, that's one option.
Yeah, I just wrote down Myth TV. Does anyone remember Myth TV?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I had some really bad experience with that, and I tend not to run my own servers anymore. Well, actually, there's a funny story because I was working with Unity Media at the time, and I had access to the head end, and I had access to about 12 satellite, like 3-meter satellite dishes. So I stuffed a PC full of satellite cards and we got Myth TV running on it with a remote infrared changing channels on set-top boxes. It was a beast, but it really needs love and attention, like an hour every day to try and keep the thing running. But we had a distribution. Maybe I shouldn't be making this all public, but we had.
So, because you're based in Germany, are the rules still the same out there? That you have to be able to have unencrypted access to DVB-C stuff, or have they allowed?
This was this was 12, 13 years ago. Maybe.
Oh, right, yeah. So very chances.
So yeah, you could access the signals anyway, so no problem.
Yeah.
But so since then that's at the time I used to run my own mail server, my own web server, and at the end of the day, I realized that number one, I was wasting a lot of my time. It was fun process, but the main thing was I was actually creating security risk by running servers that had external facing interfaces that I wasn't looking after properly, and I was just creating problems for myself security wise. So for security's sake, I stopped running my own server because I'm not like. I don't know. If you're going to look after your own data, you need a lot of time and a lot of skill.
I mean, the nice thing about systems like Plex and MB is a good one as well, is that really you're not really doing a huge amount on them. You're just putting your media on there, and they sort out the security and the sort of the dynamic DNS and all that kind of thing, so that you can access all your content from a device when you're over the internet, but it handles the sort of how you get the availability and everything. You're not sort of
things have changed.
Hammering holes in your firewall.
I mean, when I slapped open a lake on my NUC a couple of years ago, I was actually disappointed at how easy it was. It just worked, and I was like, nothing to play with here.
Yeah, that's always we like to play with things, really.
Yeah,
it's true.
That's right. I mean, the amount of time you spend with my media center system, and of course now I've got a Skybox that just does it. It's boring. It's just not exciting anymore.
Yeah. I've actually just had an email through with the UK pricing on that VBox. It's actually going to be $129.95 for the DVB-T version, and $144.95 for the satellite version.
Oh, that's not. I think that's a good.
Yeah.
I think that's a good plan. So we'll follow that review.
Yep. That's
I
cool.
think that's just about all we've actually got time for this week. That's gone really quick, because there's other things I was going to talk about, and we've run out of time.
Yeah, I was going to mention. Actually, I will mention one thing, because I love this thing. Have either of you gentlemen ever lost your remote control?
Oh, always, yeah.
I've got one now which will beep if I lose it. It's brilliant. It's one of the new One for All ones. Their new smart control range of stuff. It's if I can see a number on this box, I'll tell you. Actually, can't see a number on this box. Okay, but I'll find that way out and let you know. But it's one of the smart control range, and it's basically it's a fairly standard all for one type of remote control, but it's got a built-in Bluetooth LE.
Right.
So you can control it from an iPhone, iPod, or an Android device. It allows you to do all the setting up from those devices as well, which is a lot easier than trying to do on the device. But it's got this lovely feature. If you lose it, you just go to your phone and say, "Where's my remote control?" and it starts beeping at you. It's really cool.
Well, that's very handy. Then you can, rather than shouting at the kids and blaming them.
Yeah, indeed.
Excellent stuff. Right. Well, so Steve, so where can we go to find out where things that you're up to, your video reviews, some really good product reviews?
Yeah, you're really breaking up now. I hope you can hear me, but I feel like I'm coming to you live from somewhere out in Mars or somewhere. I am at Chippy on Twitter. I'm doing the video reviews for notebookcheck.com. They're a German website. Those devices come to me, and then I do the video reviews and pass them back to the website, and then those are going up. There's about 4 a week coming now. We've got the Surface Pro 4 in America. We didn't get it in Germany, so we should have a nice detailed review of that coming up soon as well.
Really?
So yeah,
excellent stuff. And Gary, where we find all your stuff?
I'm at Gary WMA on Twitter, and also Fascinating Tech. We've got another issue coming out very shortly if I can get the editing done. We've quite a nice lot of stuff. Basically, all the stuff we saw at IFA and some of the reviews we had back off of that. So there's some really interesting bits and bits. You can see me jumping up and down on the trampoline testing headphones.
Excellent stuff. Well, Steve, it was really good to talk to you again. Really glad you could join us tonight. I really appreciate that. So we'll have to catch up with you again, maybe when we get a bit further down, a few more builds, and we'll see how far you get on your Windows phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully my internet connection will be better then. But I'm in touch with Microsoft Germany. I'm on the list. I'm obviously not at the top of the list, so at some point I'll get a loaner to do some testing with.
Excellent stuff. Right, great stuff. And thanks, Gary, for joining us. So we should be back next week. So, Gary, you're out and about. You'll be in the States, but hopefully we'll still have the show anyway, and we'll get you.
Well, I'll see if I can dial in live from the MVP Summit and see how we get on with that. But we'll give it a go.
Right, great stuff. Right. Well, thanks, guys. That was a great show.
Take
Thanks
care.
very much.